Hey everyone.
How's it going? All right. Hopefully that was a quick little taste of what Web3 will look like in the future or the present. Thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure to be here for me, for Greg. Korea has been such an amazing bed of culture and innovation that's been taking place for such a long time. I watched Parasite, Squid Games, and all the fun things that, obviously follow along with what Blackpink is up to. But I thought today would be nice to have a little bit of Hollywood in Korea. And so, Greg, it's a pleasure to be here together. I'm happy to be here with you. But tell me how you've been, what you've been up to. NBC's been doing some interesting things. Walk us through and introduce yourself to Korea.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really happy to be here in one of the most innovative cities in all the world. So really thanks for inviting me to be speaking with you. I'm the VP of Tech Innovation and Partnerships at Universal Pictures. So what does that involve? That really is about innovating our filmmaking process. So that covers everything from content development, production, post-production, also our marketing and distribution teams as well. So everything innovation with our film and making and distribution business. I also work with our consumer products and games team as well. That also includes the theme parks. So that's really about digital experiences, both in our physical destinations and anything you get at home as well. So, I have a great job. I've been doing it for 7 years, and the success we've had over that time period has really been about being recognized across the company as a center of excellence. So if you think about Comcast, NBC Universal, it's a huge company. We also span into Europe as well with Sky. And I'm very lucky because we have our own autonomy, we have our own budgets, we get to choose the partners we work with, which is why I'm here with Aptos today, and it's been such a great experience. And when we think about blockchain, we've been really reimagining how we can create fan experiences that cater to the masses. We're trying to build the most immersive, compelling experiences, and working with the right technology partner to do that is extremely important. Which is why we're here today with Aptos, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what Aptos is for those who don't know. I'm sure a lot of you do, but what is Aptos and how does it work? How does it apply to a company like ours?
Yeah. So Aptos is a layer 1 blockchain. We started our journey very early on inside of a company called Facebook or Meta, and we were thinking about how do you bring a protocol to billions of people. And what we saw in the market was something that didn't necessarily provide a reliable, safe, scalable infrastructure for partners like not only NBC, but a lot of the builders here that I've gotten to know over the last year. And so as we think about scaling, we wanted to build a blockchain that basically can evolve. Mm-hmm. And we've done that. We launched our blockchain in October of 2022. It hasn't even been a year yet. And we've already done 47 upgrades to the protocol. That's kind of unheard of in the world of Web3. Mm-hmm. But we want these upgrades to obviously be able to support the demands that developers have and users have in the market. And so that's been something that we're incredibly proud of. We use a native smart contract language called Move. We built our own smart contract language. It's designed to provide a lot of safety and security for developers. So if you think about someone like NBC or, again, if you're a developer in the space, you won't have to worry about a lot of the challenges that you might using other smart contract languages in the market. So that's been amazing for Aptos. Where we saw some of the numbers flash, but our latency and throughput is the best in the market. We're able to support 30,000 transactions per second to date, and these are real transactions. And all those transactions settle in under a second. Mm-hmm. And just to give perspective, if you look at Visa, for example, Visa processes around 1,700 transactions per second. So we can actually support money movement globally in real time. And that is going to open up an incredible amount of innovation and very cool use cases. But it's not just about innovation in where we are in Silicon Valley, but globally. And so this is where we spend a lot of time. This is actually my 4th trip to Korea. Mm-hmm. Greg, I know this is your first trip. You're already going to come back.
Yeah, so it's been awesome.
And so it's just been incredible to see the amount of talent that we've seen in not only Korea, but in other parts of the world that have been able to innovate in ways, other parts of what you would typically expect of the world are where they're slower. We have partners that are building with us, obviously folks like NBC Universal, but we focus on 4 different categories. We have gaming, social, finance, of course, entertainment. And within each one of those categories, there's some amazing stuff that's going on. We have a $1 trillion asset manager tokenizing a money market fund on a public permission chain called Aptos. We have partners like Unity, where we have verified gaming SDKs, where gaming is taking full advantage of our protocol in ways that nothing else in the market can support today. And then when we think about social, we have applications like Chingari, where they were building on a previous protocol, they migrated and are fully building on Aptos today, and they've been able to get 2 million users in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so for us, when we think about all these different use cases, we need serious infrastructure to basically bring it to life, and we're very excited that Aptos is being picked by amazing partners like yourselves. Yeah. But enough about me. I want you to talk a little bit about how NBC's been approaching this Web3 space, because we met a while ago, and you guys have been doing a lot of deep thinking, mm-hmm. and that's something that we really liked as Aptos, someone who really understands why Web3 has this why do we work with a Web3 partner, but what are the value that you can unlock? And so I think it'd be great for the crowd to hear a little bit of that.
Yeah, so obviously at Universal Pictures, we make globally recognizable content. So think of Minions, think of Jurassic World, like everybody knows the content that we create. And when we're creating experiences for our fans, it's really important to be authentic and create products that make sense. So if you think about Web3 and what that provides, the idea of being able to sell a movie ticket or produce a game or sell a physical product and have those touch points, those experiences speak to each other programmatically in a digital experience is really compelling, and you can really think about the types of things that we can create that we can't create previously. And that's ultimately why Aptos has been such an interesting partner for us, because the experiences we've had today, you've mentioned a lot of the projects that we've been working on. I can talk about one that wasn't done on the Aptos blockchain. It was on an EVM layer 2 network. And it was for a project that we had with our Universal theme park in Orlando and Hollywood. And it was for Halloween Horror Nights, if any of you are familiar with what that is. It's an event that happens around Halloween, and we have 9 to 10 experiences that are set up in the evening, and you go through a maze and have people jump and scare you to death. And honestly, it's the most fun thing. But what we did is ultimately create a scavenger hunt sort of experience where every maze that you completed, you had a QR code at the end, exit, and you scanned it, collected the digital POAP. And ultimately, we created a collection sort of behavior where fans were sort of incentivized to complete all the mazes. Again, if you've ever been, most of the lines are pretty long. It's pretty difficult to complete most of the mazes in one day. So there was a natural sort of behavior that we were seeing where people were sort of exchanging the tokens that they didn't manage to collect with other users. And that sort of created this fun community-based experience that we imagined. And it sort of connected the 2 locations together as well. So you had Hollywood and Orlando was both working with the same system. The challenges that we have with it, though, we had to create a lot of workarounds. So typically, like when I'm building an experience, I want the technology to work for me. I don't want to be sort of creating workarounds with the solutions and the experience that we're delivering to our fans. So things like we needed to have 100,000 tokens for one day. You're not going to be able to do that on an EVM network, unfortunately. So what did we do? We had to build strategies to make that work. We were pre-minting tokens to use on the fly as and when we needed them, which created a lot of wastage. It just was a clunky exercise. So obviously when we met Mo, and you mentioned your Facebook days as Chris in the audience, I worked with him at Facebook for many years. So there's been sort of a coalescence of great people coming together. We really saw Aptos as a sort of a product market fit for the types of use cases that we're looking to develop as a really big company that reaches millions and millions of people. So I don't know if you want to build on that with the project that we've done most recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great story for us to think about, right? Like, how do we solve these problems so you can bring that vision to life for millions of people that go to the movies, yep. And I think Renfield was a very interesting use case. I mean, everyone kind of saw the trailer there, but we were thinking about how do you take that blockchain and put it completely in the back end for that experience. And if you saw the person in the movie theater, they don't have any off-chain. They don't have to deal with the web browser wallet. They don't have to deal with NFT management. All of that gets abstracted away and sits completely in the background. And when you talk about building technology for you, I also want to build technology for myself and try to avoid having all these pitfalls and challenges that we have to deal with within a UI or UX. So with Renfield, I think you got to see people come, play this game, squash bugs, and all that's happening in the background is they're having an Aptos wallet being created for them. Yep. And you guys could identify, okay, who is this person? What are they doing? Maybe they're really good at squashing bugs, and they get a prize. And now NBC knows about what that person has done. And then eventually you can offer them things into the future. And so those digital assets or relics that you saw all end up being NFTs within that ecosystem. They sit completely in the background, and all the complexity is obfuscated away. And so it just makes it a very seamless experience for the end user, which I think is very important for how we scale Web3. But I think that's just the start of what we're doing, right? And I don't know how much you can share with this crowd. I think everyone's here to listen about some secret stuff that you guys might be working on. But how do you think about things like loyalty, for example, or extending that experience into all those assets that you have at NBC?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, sort of the time we've been looking into this space, we were laughing a little bit, but we've been looking at blockchain technology for at least 6 or 7 years. I mean, if you think about consortium private permission blockchains, that was like the flavor of the day back in 2016, and we were talking to R3, Corda, Hyperledger, you name it, and it sort of was very interesting. Loyalty was the use case that stood out as being sort of the killer app for a decentralized network.
Why loyalty?
Because if you think about, again, like this idea of building a customer journey that's cohesive, it every sort of touch point speaks to each other. Whether that's in a company like ours that is a massive corporation that has many, many companies, like that's really difficult even right now for us to speak to our own groups. What does one customer do in one business? What does it do with another? Like we're not able to do that very efficiently. It starts becoming a bit of a boring IT project, honestly. A project that I wouldn't want to be involved in.
Sorry, just to jump back in, like what happens if you unlock that?
Yeah, so if you think about the fan experiences that we're creating, like, the idea of like you visited a theme park one day, you've come back the next day, you've completed all the experiences, the rides, and we can sort of create community and rewards and programmability around that engagement. That's really, really powerful. We've got a project that we've been sort of discussing around the idea of how we would distribute movies in the future. So, the idea that you have a token that represents the ownership of that piece of content. If you are buying a movie today through one of our traditional distributors, it stays within their ecosystem. That community, that data doesn't flow through. So the idea that we can now create an entitlement, a right that says you bought a movie, you rented a movie, you now have access across many platforms, many, many, many products. That's something we can't do today. It's really, really powerful.
That's the holy grail right there, right? Like I think everyone wants to be able to take existing digital assets, whether it's a Renfield asset or another movie or maybe a ticket that you got at the theme park. But I also want to be able to take my NFTs that I have in other ecosystems and bring them to you guys as well.
Yep.
And so we need that level of interoperability to basically exist. And it's amazing that you guys are thinking about it.
Yep.
What's kind of a little more that you can share in terms of how you unlock some of that?
Yeah, so I want to mention gaming as well. So gaming is a huge business for us too. So the games that we build, having assets that actually mean something, the clothing that you're buying, the digital assets, all of that sort of experience data that you're accumulating through the games that you're playing. Again, that all fits in within the model that we're thinking about. NBC as well is a huge advertising company. We advertise across all our linear TV networks. We have platforms like Fandango, Rotten Tomatoes. Comcast itself is the biggest cable TV network in all of the US. So the idea of having an advertising system, a settlement layer that essentially can prove that an advert was essentially seen, you acted on it, and we can prove that to our partners as well. That becomes a really compelling opportunity. In terms of how we're thinking about how we're tackling this, so it becomes a little bit of a centralized exercise within our own company. Thinking about the primitives essentially that we would need to develop as a infrastructure layer for our entire company. So obviously identity layers, you mentioned provisioning wallets and creating that to a user identity that we know. That's something we want to be able to do and build and scale across the entire company and have one system that everybody can sort of tap into. Having a smart contract layer as well, where we can program our own smart contracts, our own business logic. So, essentially you've got the ability as a company to sort of have all this programmability and composability across an organization is really, really powerful. And then, of course, access to multiple blockchain networks. Of course, maybe choosing one or two in the future is the right way to go, but allowing our customers and fans essentially to have access to the networks that they want to access as well is really important. And of course, working with a network that scales is a key to unlocking all of that.
Yeah, there's so much evolving in this space right now where you're starting to see things like ZK, you're starting to see roll-ups, you're starting to see all these interoperability layers. From Aptos' perspective, we think about this very, very carefully. We've seen the bridges that are out there where, in order to enable this very open, interoperable world, we need to be able to speak with all these different protocols.
Yeah.
And so internally, we are working on some very interesting things on how we bridge this universe together while taking full advantage of Aptos being that settlement layer where a lot of that value can accrue. And we think that's going to be something very special that we'll probably share more in the future. So that's, I think that's a little bit of a trailer for what's to come. But all of this happens when you have deep tech aligning with amazing entertainment companies like yourselves, right? And so, I think working together has been a lot of fun because we get to do a lot of the stuff that we love to do, which is, nerd out, help build out smart contracts, think about how do you scale these experiences, ultimately maybe one day get to an interesting ad network on Aptos. But, it's the goal for us in a way to put all that complexity almost even away from you, so you don't have to deal with it. And so when we're working with someone like NBC, which has been a lot of fun, we want to take care of the stuff that we like to do, so you can obviously continue to create amazing content and build that user experience. So that's really important for us. I think the other thing is there's interesting things that are happening, and I know you've been thinking about everything happening in AR and VR, and obviously AI is a massive theme. We just announced our partnership with Microsoft, where we're building out an Aptos assistant, where you can write a smart contract without having to write the smart contract itself, which is going to be really cool. So Microsoft is building that along with a GitHub Copilot, and we're going to be working on some finance and gaming use cases. But I'm kind of curious, right? Can we get a little teaser of what does the Metaverse look like for NBC? What does AI look like for NBC? Is there something you can share there?
So yeah, the Metaverse is. I actually hate that word, honestly. But yeah, if you think about sort of the theme park and the way that that really does only reach a subset of the world. If you think about how we can essentially build virtual worlds and games, and the economies that go with them that sort of match the physical theme park experiences that you get, we're thinking a lot about that. It's not really about digital twins and all of that sort of stuff. It's really about making fantastical worlds that you can really sort of immerse yourself in on a daily basis. Creator economies is a big play for us as well. So the idea of allowing our fans to have access to our IP and to build their own worlds with our content in a way that is equitable for us, equitable for them. These are all the things that sort of a scalable blockchain network and blockchain technology will support. And honestly, that's been why it's been such a fun experience working with you all. I know you've got a story about your childhood, and I'm not going to let you get away with it. So, what is it?
So, we were talking about this, and I guess you're going to bring it up. One thing I loved about movies is actually going to the movies myself. Growing up as a kid, I didn't have an opportunity to, so I figured maybe my parents will let me go to the movies if I worked there. So I worked at the movie theater. That was one of my first jobs, actually, clipping tickets, making popcorn, letting my friends kind of sneak in a little bit and watch some movies. But it's been amazing to see that kind of extended out. And so it's a little bit of a childhood kind of reality sort of come to life. But you have one.
Well, I mean, the reason why I work in a film studio is because of my relationship with the content that we've created in the past. Back to the Future is my favorite trilogy of all time. So I watch that on a regular basis. I annoy the people I live with watching it because they don't like it. But it's my favorite film. And at the end of the day, that really profoundly affected me as an individual. And the idea that I'm working for a company that creates that content and impacts people so profoundly on a daily basis is really important. And I take that responsibility really seriously as an employee of Universal. I want to make sure that the experiences that we're developing are the most compelling and the most authentic they possibly can be for our fans. So, I think about sort of the things that we're talking about now next. There are some projects that we're cooking up. We've mentioned a hint at a few of them, but there is another project that we're exploring with The Exorcist. I don't know if any of you are horror fans. So the Blumhouse movie, The Exorcist Believer, is actually going to be released in October. So there's another project that we're working on right now, and it's following a similar sort of track. So you're going to essentially be rewarded with exclusive content for buying a movie ticket. We're one of our big exhibition partners in the US. So the moment you go and buy the ticket, you're going to be immediately, through their own internal loyalty program, linked out to an Aptos wallet enabled by Petra, and you'll be immediately given the opportunity to claim an exclusive piece of content that only people that participate will have access to. The movie is going to scare the shit out of everybody, I will be honest with you. And if you've seen the old movie, it follows on exactly from that same genre. So super excited about that film. And honestly, the experience with working with Aptos has been absolutely amazing, because that same passion that you have for your childhood, and the same with my team as well. Like the idea that we've been having our engineers go to your internal hackathons where they didn't necessarily know Move as a programming language for your smart contracts before you embraced them, taught them how to build those contracts, and we're off to the races and sort of being able to iterate very quickly on the ideas that we have and making them practical. And that's being brought to life in The Exorcist right now. So I think, anything else you want to add before we close out?
No, I mean, I think it's really cool to be here again, and appreciate the shout out. I think the special thing, though, for me is, as I'm hearing your story, it feels a little bit like we're going back to the future together. So that's kind of special.
I love that.
Do we have a little sneak peek here?
Yeah, we do. So I just want to say thank you as well for all of you listening, and thanks to the producers that have sort of set all of this up. I know it wasn't easy to getting the videos here, but I hope you're on the edge of your seats, because we do have the Exorcist trailer to close out to make you all awake. And with that, let's roll the tape.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.